All right, let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to AI Academy. Before we get started, we'll share the safe harbor notice that you probably have seen. Everything that we are going to cover today is part of our existing product, but in case we mention items that are on the roadmap that are not available yet, please follow the direction in the safe harbor and check with your account team before making any purchasing decision. As always, before we get started, I would like to share a few resources for you. If you have any questions or if you want to look at our content regarding our generative AI and intelligence product, feel free to go to our generative AI and intelligence community forum. For that, there is a simple link, sn.works/AI. The recording today will be available on our Now Community YouTube channel afterwards, and it's also a great place to find a lot of other videos from other groups. On the specific topic of today, there are one article that's super helpful. It's called Code Generation Tips and Use Cases that can be found on the Developer Advocate Community Forum. And there was a session last year on the Analytics Academy regarding how to leverage generative AI for your analytics with Code Assist. So those are great sessions to look at if you're interested in the topic. But if you are here with us today, it's great. We're gonna be able to share the content today, and you can ask your question on the Q&A panel. The session is recorded and will be posted on the YouTube channel afterwards. And if you are new to AI Academy, what's in it for you today? It's a session where we provide you fresh ideas so you have a better understanding and practical guidance on our product. But as I mentioned, if you are live with us today, use the Q&A panel to ask all your questions, and we try to answer as many as possible. Today, we're going to start with a quick overview, then we jump on an exercise, and we save time at the end for the Q&A. And our speaker today is Adam Stout, and we're going to talk about flow generation and code generation best practices. So welcome, Adam. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Loic. So let's get into it. Time is short. And again, as we're going through, feel free to put those questions in the Q&A. We're going to start out with a walkthrough. We're going to talk about what we have in Flow Designer for flow generation and flow recommendations as well. We're going to talk about those a little bit. We'll get into code generation, and then we're going to go into that example as fast as we can and do some live building and really show off what it can do. And as we're going, if you have some comments, some things you want to see, we can try and pull those from the chat as well. And then, of course, we'll answer questions. So let's get into Flow Designer, about where our generative AI exists in Flow Designer. And it's good we started out with the safe harbor slide because we will be talking a little bit about what's coming out. What we are talking about now is what's available in Vancouver today. This is there. I believe this was all released in November. But you can get this and use this today. It will continue to be improved through the release next month and continuing to be approved for foreseeable future. What we have today with flow generation is when I go to start a flow, when I go to create a flow, I have the traditional build from scratch, which looks very similar to the default, which is build with Now Assist. And with Now Assist, all I'm going to do is put in the flow name. We still have to give it the name. You get to generate that. And the description, what do you want it to do? For the build from scratch, this existed for a long time, and it used to be the description. What am I building? And now what we do is we just say, this is what I'd like it to do. I still have all the additional properties, which scope do I want it in, and a couple of those things to adjust. But then I'm able to press the build with Now Assist. And that is going to create my default flow. A couple really important points as we go through this. For Now Assist for Creator, which is what's enabling Flow Designer, flow generation, flow recommendations, and code generation, we need the now.assist.creator role. So we need to have the Now Assist for Creator SKU product. And then each individual user, you'll be able to control, do I get these actions or do I not? Do I get these skills? Do I get this or not? If I do not have the now.assist.creator role, I can still build flows if I have the right access, but I do not see the build with Now Assist. So I need to have that role. I need to have Now Assist for Creator. I need to enable the skill like we do with all of our GenAI skills. I need to enable that, and I need to have the role because it is user by user that is saying you get to use the Now Assist features for Creator or you don't. That's true for code generation, and it's true for flow generation and flow recommendations. So right now with the screenshot, you see one that I do have the skill activated and I have the role, which gives me the build with Now Assist. It is going to build the skeleton. It is looking at the trigger. It's going to create the trigger, and it's going to create the steps and the actions. In the current version, it does not fill out the data pills. So we're going to walk through a couple of examples of what gets created when I use the build with Now Assist. So in this case, these are prompts that I typed in, and these are the responses that I got. These are all real screenshots. So every morning at 4 a.m. every morning, I want to get all the open incidents and send a message to the assignees. So it understands the trigger. We do a really good job of picking up the trigger. We'll see that coming through. It understands Monday. It understands 4 a.m. Open incidents. It's going to see lookup records because that's how you get open incidents. But I will need to go into lookup records and to specify the incident table and active is true or state is open, whichever I want to do. And then it understands with the get a list, I'm going to do something. It understands there's a for each. So it created my for each list of items. And then it didn't get send an email or send a message. It didn't understand send a message in the current version. These screenshots are real, but they are actually a month old or so. We continue to improve the model. So these will change. If you did this right now, you might get a different result because those models are improving all the time as we continue to train. But it did understand the right trigger, look up the records, go in. So now with a few clicks, I can configure this flow very quickly. A couple more examples I want to walk through. With the Notify the CI owner. It understands incident created, and then it's going to put up, again, that structure for me. And if it doesn't understand what you're trying to do, it is going to put that placeholder in there and give it a name. So add a user to a group. It didn't quite get what to do with a watch list. It didn't understand that. So I'd still go in and tweak it, but it does get those triggers correctly. And then as it picks up what's going through, it will get some of those flows pretty correct. So when a problem's updated, send an email. It knows what we're doing. More advanced phrases, more advanced prompts in the descriptions. Give us the skeletons. It's not always what you want. It is not always the best to come through because there are some things that are nuances where I actually don't explain what's coming through. This will continue to be improved and then be more iterative as it comes through. But today, it's only when I start am I able to create my prompt. So we want to be quick. We want to be succinct on what we want to ask for. In this case, I'm actually putting in more information than it's going to use today because it knows when a case is updated, escalated, and know it's updated. But I am going to have to go in and put the configuration about to a P1 or a P2 or where did it come from. I didn't say, if a P2 becomes a P1, do I want to have it? That's still something I'm going to have to think about. But it gives me that skeleton which I can quickly configure. A feature that's really important with this, and the way that we recommend that you use flow generation today, is use a simple prompt to get started, get your skeleton. It's going to save you a few moments. And then I'm going to use flow recommendations. And flow recommendations come along with Now Assist for Creator. It's a different skill that we want to activate. But what that does is looking at what I've built along the way, it's going to recommend the next action, the next set of actions. This is a huge time saver. So while flow generation is nice, it gets me started, it gets that trigger picked for me, it gives me the rough structure. I find a lot more time savings realistically with the next best actions that are recommended, the recommendations for Flow Designer. These will change depending on the trigger. These will change depending on what steps come before it. It's not always create record and create task, but we're seeing the 5 top options. It is rare for me that what I want to do is not one of those. If I do a lookup records, I'm probably going to do a for each, and that's what it's going to suggest. It's going to suggest actions. It's going to suggest flow logic. And very commonly, it's going to save me a few clicks and really save me time in my flow creation. You still need to know what you want that flow to be. Whether I'm using flow generation or I'm using recommendations, you still need to know what you want it to look like, but it's going to help you get there fast. Now Assist for Creator lets you do. You still need to know what the end result needs to be. You still need to know what good looks like, but it will help you get there faster. The recommendations will not recommend custom spokes that are on there. This is trained on central data. It is not trained on your specific instance. So one exception will come through is if I wrote my own spoke, it won't be able to recommend that yet. Some of those areas that we're working on. But again, generally as a building flows, I have a lot of lookup records, lists for each of the records, and then update the records. Very, very common design pattern. But instead of just having a few design patterns, it is learning from all the flows that we have and giving you great recommendations. All right, with that, I'm going to take a quick look at the questions. The licensing question came in. This is Now Assist for Creator is an additional license. It is not included for free. Talk to your account teams about how that can get packaged for you. But this is an additional offering. It is not bundled into any of the existing SKUs. You need Now Assist for Creator to unlock this. And these features are not included in the Now Assist for ITSM or Now Assist for CSM or HR. This is a standalone SKU. You don't need the other ones, but you need this SKU to unlock these features for your developers. And one more question. So a question came in about, does this need text or can I give it an image? Today it is text-based. Those are certainly areas that we're looking into on how do we make it smarter and easier to come through. But today it is text-based, both for code generation and for flow generation. We use text to tell it what it wants. I believe English is the only thing that's fully supported, although in our testing, we do see a lot of other languages work decently well. But I believe it's English only text today. This will continue to expand. And I will specifically talk to our product management team about different flow maps and process maps that come through to see if there's something that can come from there. I think there are some other projects that are being worked on, particularly if you're pulling it in from a process map from some existing tool and some other standards that come through. I don't know if that would be GenAI because that's more of a transition, but very text focused at this point in time. All right, moving on, we're going to go to code generation. And with code generation, there's a few different modes that we're going to use for code generation to come through, and that is comment to code, where I give it to comment and it generates it. The format that we see, the gray text is where there has been a prediction or recommendation, which I can then accept by pressing tab or clicking on it, or I can reject by pressing escape or clicking not on it, and click outside. It'll reject that suggestion. The first one we have is comment to code, text to code, where I give it a comment on what I want it to do. We'll do some more demos in this area. And then code complete is the other mode, where I am just writing JavaScript and do it. They're different modes because they think about them differently. The backend is exactly the same, that it is looking at what you give it and then completing that. They can be used in conjunction too. I could write a comment, start the code, and it will complete it. But we do think of them of those two different ways. Where do we use code generation? So flow generation, we use in Flow Designer. It's easy. Code generation is extremely powerful, and it does understand the words you're giving it. In flow generation, it didn't fill out the pills. It gets the trigger, it gets the structure, but the data pills are not completed yet. Code generation does understand what you're saying, and it does give us a lot of power. With great power comes great responsibility. We don't want to see writing code where we can use low code solutions. The low code message is still very true, very powerful, and how I support it, how I understand what's going on, how I test it. Just because we can write code doesn't mean we should write code. But where we need to write code, let's use code generation. So my number one use case for code generation is Action Designer. I'm going to write code snippets that I can use in Flow Designer. Extremely powerful, makes you extremely productive, that I can write those code snippets very quickly, very efficiently. Script includes, we still use script includes, and code generation will help me there. Fixed scripts are very quick to do. I just need to fix some data. I'm not going to build a flow. I oftentimes see fixed scripts overlooked when I'm making a process change. I'm not fixing my old data. Sometimes that's okay, sometimes it's not. We can use code generation to help us write those fixed scripts. Again, you still have to know what's correct. You have to know what right is, but it's going to be very, very helpful. Email scripts works well there when I need to write those. And if I'm using instant scan, I can use code generation if I'm doing a scripted instant scan. It will not tell me, hey, don't use a script here. You should just use the table query and instant scan. If I'm an action designer, it's not going to tell me, there's an out-of-the-box action that does this. You still have to know what's available and use those things. But again, these are places we do write scripts. And if I'm going to write a script, I'm going to write it faster with code generation. Places I don't want to see code generation being used is in business rules. Generally, there are certainly exceptions where we still use them, but we don't want to take away from flows. We want to use flows when we can, but so not just go to business rules. We see a lot of people who just go, oh, no, I can write thousands and thousands of business rules. We still want to use flows when we can. And then scheduled jobs, I'm almost always going to use a flow instead of a scheduled job, which is a script. I might go in and write new actions in Action Designer so my flow can do everything, but I still want to be using those flows, scheduled flows rather than scheduled jobs. So be conscious of where you're using these things. And then the use cases that we see, again, we'll go into the demo, but basic code generation. So with the switch statement all the time, and it understands because it's been trained on our code. These are really common things. If I want category, question, request, complaint, those might not be right, but they're reasonable to start out with, and then I can just go in and edit them. So it's a very common design pattern that I will use code complete. It will give me the syntax, and then I will edit the code that was created. Exercising APIs, huge time savings for APIs. ServiceNow has lots and lots of APIs. And in the past, when I was writing something, if I was going to make an Ajax call, I would have to go, to the documentation, find the example there, and then I'd have to go edit it. I might go to a search engine and search for the code I'm looking for, go through a few examples and go, that's pretty close to what I want, copy and paste that into the block I'm looking for, and then edit it. I don't have to do that anymore. I can just go, I want to do this. It's going to show me that API. And once I have that API, I can edit it. Again, this is not trained on your instance's data. So if you've written custom APIs, custom script includes, it will not pick those up, but you can, I'll show you. You can put in placeholders. If you know the name of it, it will follow the right syntax. And then the other note was context matters. So this has been trained on our data. This is not a vanilla code generator. It understands the difference between I'm in a mail script or I'm in a business rule, if I am doing a business rule, or I'm in a script include or I'm in instant scan. Those all have different variables that are available to them as inputs and outputs. And because we've trained on those, it's going to be able to predict those for you. All right, with that, we are going to jump over to our exercise and our demo. And excuse me while I switch my window. All right, I am on an instance that has the skill activated and my user has the role. An important comment about this too is the now.assist.creator role is not by default inherited by admin. So even as an admin, I wouldn't see this. Even as an admin, by default, I won't see the now assist for creator options, the flow generation, the code generation. It won't be there. You'll go grant it to decide who you're going to have that for. Okay, let me pull this up really quick. So we're going to go to Flow Designer. And I'll launch Flow Designer like normal. And now that loads a couple questions. Oh, the week's going to answer that one. Can I use this? The question came in, can I use this in Virtual Agent Designer? And Loic may know the answer to that one. I believe it's not been connected yet, but that's coming. Flow generation is only in Flow Designer. Code generation is available any place we have the Monaco text editor, the script editor. So it's enabled almost everywhere in the platform in the core UI, where you have the script editor that has the preview on the side. And I'll show you where you'll see how it's activated when we get into the code generation demo. But I am not the virtual agent designer. I'm not positive if it has been hooked in there yet, but I know that's been on the list, so it might be out pretty soon. All right, we're going to go to flows. I'm going to create a new flow. So we're going to create a new flow. If I didn't have the analysis, if I didn't have the right role, we're going to see just basically this build from scratch, which is a flow name and a description. Since I have it, the default is build with Now Assist, and we're going to give it a flow name, which is let's see, notify CI owner of cases. And what we're going to do is when a case is open, the pretty simple. When a case is open, notify the owner of the CI that the case was open for, on their behalf. They are not in build with Now Assist, and this is now going to create my flow for me. And the joy of live demos that we love to do here is that sometimes it does take a couple seconds to come through on my demo instance. So as this comes in, a question came in about the analysis for creator. This does help developers. If you're not developing, then you probably don't need this. But if I have a developers and I'm paying for app development, I'm configuring beyond just configuring between building new applications and App Engine. If I'm making adjustments and I'm creating new flows, this is really going to juice up what my developers can do and help them be much more productive. But if you don't have dedicated developers, this might not be the product you want to have. And it is priced per developer. It's priced generally priced per developer. It's priced differently than the Now Assist for CSM or HR. Okay, so it created when cases created or updated, it did get doesn't want to load there. It did get that this is case to come through. So it's getting the trigger pretty close to what's in there. The lookup record, because I need to look up who the CI is. It doesn't fill out the pills here, but it knows I'm going to need to do a lookup. And then if it didn't understand my if statement, but it knows that there's going to be an if here. And then post a message. That's a pretty reasonable choice that we want the Teams message. I may come in and change that to be send a notification, but I get that structure done pretty quickly. And then I want to show off the recommendations. So we come in here. So after this, it's going to say, well, you're probably going to update it, create or update, similar but different, or create a new record or put an if in updations. After my if, I'm going to put a function, and then I again have different records that come through here. I can still come in the normal path and click. I want to add it. I want to add my flow logic. I want to add my else if. You can still do that, but what this is just a huge time savings because those common things I need are right there. So it's up to you. All right, so that is flow generation and flow recommendations. Let's get into to come through, and please again fill the questions in the Q&A, and we'll get to those. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to go into fix scripts. While I prefer the screen's a little bit smaller, it's not as easy to see, but I can come into my actions. And in my actions, find one of these that I just worked on. And we'll see my script step. So in Flow Designer, my script step, the key, is this activated for you or not? You'll see it in Flow Designer because it will give you the prompt for Now Assist. The script block will have the 2 stars here and powered by Now Assist for code generation if it's enabled. If you don't have the role, you won't see this. Well, and I have this code in here. So I put some comments in here check the payload for social security number, and then replace it. This is not super hard, but it's stuff I have to go do. And how do I do the regex again? What's that look like? I'm going to come in and I ask Now Assist to give me a recommendation based on what I've done. So I am going to press Control Enter, or I'm going to press Control Enter on a Windows machine, Command Enter on a Mac, and it will give me a recommendation on what to have in here. I'm going to click on the gray, and it's now put in. It's now put in what I've wanted. What's important here to note, this understands I'm an action designer and that I have inputs. I said check payload, so it assumed my variable is payload. If I change that, it would change it. It's replacing a regex. This is a pretty reasonable regex for social security number, and then I'm going to replace that with for what I want to have in there. It's creating the output payload, a status, an error message, all common things that I'm going to do in Action Designer. And I'm going to say quote. This one will be interesting as it comes through, but let's go run this in a different context. So again, because I have this context, it's generating what comes through. And in this case, it actually repeated the lines a little bit. So I would delete some of these. I'm going to clean it up, but I'll come through. So we're going to go back over here. I'm going to go to, like I said, fix scripts, because the text editor can get nice and big. And I'm going to create a new fix script. I'm going to put that exact same quote in here, the exact same comment. Again, we see the stars, so that I know that this is powered by Now Assist, which means at the end I can come in. I'm going to press Control Enter, and it's going to come up with a recommendation for me. Now, what's important to note is that this recommendation is different. It's in Action Designer. I wouldn't update the record. I actually wouldn't get the record. Fix script, I'm going to do that. Now, I didn't give it any context about what table, whether this was case or incident. It picked one. But the rest of this is all pretty reasonable, what comes through. And again, it helps me with the regex syntax about what I want to do with the replace if it's there. I'm going to go edit it, because in this case, it actually wanted to put the text in for SSN, but the syntax that comes through. An important note in the text in the editors, this purple line down here tells me that this was code that was created by Now Assist. If I come in and edit it, because I'm going to remove the SSN prefix, I don't need that. I just want the 3 digits, 2 digits, 4 digits. It's now going to show me that this has been edited. And this data is stored as metadata in the system. That helps me understand how much has been generated, how much has been edited to come through. So we've done that to come through. I'm going to show one more example where we'll see syntax matters as it comes through, the context matters. So I'm going to do check for open incidents, open cases that I can't type and talk at the same time, that have not been updated in 3 months. I'll have it. I'm requesting it to predict what's going on. Again, another great time savings. And in this case, it understands ServiceNow that updated in 3 months is an easy query. I don't have to get everything and loop it. It understands it has been trained on ServiceNow examples, not just vanilla JavaScript. So we have that. This is all pretty reasonable to me to come through and give me my numbers. I didn't tell it what to do, so it's going to send it out as an info. I'm going to get rid of this. And if you ever forget the syntax key, when I press the help, it is added down here. For people with the Now Assist creator role, you'll see the trigger AI accepts suggestions, dismiss suggestions. If I don't have this, I don't get teased. I won't see that. I'll just see the normal help line. We're going to put this in here. Well, I didn't want CSM cases. I wanted HR cases. So I'm going to put in an HR case. And again, I'm going to suggest what's going on. This is, again, trained on central data, not on your data. So it may suggest out of the box tables that you don't have. So just because this didn't check, do I actually have the customer service table? It's not checking, do I have the HR core case table? But so you make sure, but it does understand cases. Default to CSM cases, I put HR, I get the HR core case. I might come if I want it to be something else. It's not always deterministic on what you're going to get. So we saw the encoded query and the CSM one. We see the opened at with add query here. Slight variations. You can choose what you want. Both of them work the same. So I'm not going to change that, but it does come up. But again, it understood out of the box tables. You don't have to have it perfect, just have to have it close. And you can come in. Let's say that I didn't want HR cases. I wanted, I created a potluck app and I have cases for my potluck. And I can say that it's going to generate the same thing. Oh, it's going to pick something random. I actually wanted to do something else. It didn't get what I was doing here, but if I had a specific X, A123, if I have a specific table I want to have and I put that table in, it's going to understand, I don't know what this is, but I understand it's a table. So this should now put in the A123 potluck case table, right? It'll have that. Now, it's not validating that table exists, which is good in this case, because it may not exist yet. I'm going to go create it. It doesn't know if active is true or not. I checked for open. Active or true is a very common design, but I might have to go adjust this in the relative for 3 months. Sys updated on that. That is correct here. So again, as you're going through, the more information you put in, the better your code will be. But the game is, how can I write as little code as possible to get the right thing? You may try a couple times, and it is important to practice to understand what it's learning and what it doesn't. A question came in, can I use glide query? Let's find out real quick. Using glide query. So that didn't pick it up in this context. Open. Try one more time. So it didn't get it here, but code complete does work with this. So if I did I have IntelliSense, but even from here should give me an example of glide query. Yeah. So from here, I'll tell it what to do. But I was able to just do a code complete from glide query and get this example. Really, really useful for APIs. That's what I use it for a lot, because I don't always have at the top of my mind the to array, or it's set limit with glide record, it's limit with glide query. It's going to give me what's going on. All right, I believe I'm over time and Loic's going to start yelling at me. Let's make sure we get through the last questions that we have. So yes, the APIs, you can tell it what to do, and it may not get it all the time. It may not understand everything, but it'll help you get started. It does work if I did get a count of open incidents. This normally uses glide record. We continue to tweak this. So actually now this even uses glide aggregate. One of the things that we've been improved is we get the feedback about what comes through. Originally, this would have used a glide record and looped. Now it knows when I say get a count of, I want to use glide aggregate. And I might be able to come in here. For some reason, I wanted to use glide record. It might let me do that. Nah, it's not that. It's not letting me be silly. But to come through, if you know there's an API name you want to use, tell it the API name, and it'll come through. If you know there's a table name, a specific table name, do that. If you don't know it, put in the default. It's going to get you close. It's probably right, and if not, it's still okay. Quick to edit. So the question. So we talked about that one. So yes, you can use this inside. It is looking at what's before and after. For code generation, it's designed to look after, but it will generate code inside of a block. So if it's, I'm not going to have a good example here, but yeah, where you are really matters. The cursor absolutely matters, and part of the prediction, part of the input, is what's before the cursor and what's after the cursor to generate what should go right after the cursor. So you can use this in place. I would not use this yet to refactor. So one of the big questions that we get is, can this look at my code and tell me what it's doing? Code to comment. We talked about comment to code. I wanted to do this and do it. We are looking at how do we make comment to code. Refactoring is something that we'll continue to look at. But today where we're at is comment to code, code complete. Those are use cases that we look at that we're very successful with. Again, it will work on pretty much anything that has a script block like this. You'll see the stars. There are a few tables. We continue to improve this, so I don't want the restrictions that come through. It does work on client scripts. It does work on server-side script. It works great on. There is an issue with UI actions that can be both client scripts and server-side scripts. It doesn't know which one you're looking at there. So be careful when you're looking at some of those things. You do need to look at it. Today, it doesn't understand that I'm in global versus scoped. For the most part, those APIs work the same, but there's a few nuances where in a scope, you can't call a global, and a global, you can't call a scope where it comes through. It doesn't get all those nuances yet, but we continue to enhance it. You do need to review your code. It might get you 95% there, which is great. But that other 5%, if you don't know what that other 5% should be, it can be a real struggle. So you do need to be able to write the script yourself, but it's going to be able to help you do it just way, way faster and remove having to go find those examples. The plugin name for this, so it is a store app, which is Now Assist for Creator. When you get Now Assist for Creator, you get all of these things, and then you'll go activate the skills that you want to have. And then Now Assist for Creator is special because I have to activate or install the store app. I need to activate the skills that I want to activate, and then I need to give the role to the users that are going to have that. This needs to be on your subprods. It's the same. The licensing does apply to the subprods too, because that's generally we're actually going to use it as on subprods, not on prod. It is not currently on PDIs. If you need to evaluate it, talk to your account team on how do we do that. But actually getting it, you want to talk to your account team on what the best, simplest avenue is for you. But it is not on PDIs, available to everybody. And you do need a license even on subprods. So while most things you can go to a subprod and activate whatever you want, this is not one of those. And I believe that's true for all of the Now Assists. Or another one, important one, are all the Now Assist creator skills using the Now LLM? Yes, today they are. Today they're using the Now LLM. Make sure you check the model cards for the skills to understand what the latest and greatest is and what's going on. But today, these are all using the Now LLM. All right. So I think I'm way over time. And if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to hand it back over to Loic to wrap up. If we have anything else to comment on.
No, that's it. Thank you very much, Adam. And I think everybody enjoyed the session. So that's it for today, and see you in 2 weeks.